I'm Dr. Stephanie Jeffries. Welcome to Conversations That Heal podcast. Today, I have the privilege to interview Christy. Christy has defied odds in her life to become the amazing woman she is. She doesn't claim to be perfect. She has a story that is transformative. Christy, you have such a compelling story to tell your story the way that you can.
Stephanie, thank you so much for that awesome introduction. I'm Christy, born and raised here in New England in Connecticut. What a life it's been so far. I've never been to war, but I've been fighting my entire life. When I was younger, I had to fight to keep myself safe. As a young woman, I had to fight to stay safe. And as a mother, I had to fight to give my daughters the life that I never had, the life that they deserve to have. I'm a little bit of a self-made person. My life story is not conventional. Barely finished high school, joined the workforce at a fairly early age, thought I had a plan, had to scrap the plan, and I had to work my way up. By age 31, I had worked my way up to an executive level in a highly regulated industry as a sales executive. I've completed my undergrad in psychology with the intention of carrying that into a master's program. I'm blessed to be the mom of a terrific daughter. My aha moment in life and my life's work came to me when I was about 32. I knew that because I had managed to survive and build myself up into a functioning member of society, I knew the crutches and the pillars I had leaned on throughout the worst and lowest of times. These have got to be teachable skills. And my degree program in psych that solidified my suspicion I've been able to defy the odds and break a 100-plus-year-old chain of generational trauma. My life's work is informing and educating others how they can do the very same thing.
Generational trauma is one of the things a lot of people don't understand. I believe it is a silent legacy that is passed on.
Yeah.
A silent legacy of trauma, a silent legacy of not saying anything, a silent legacy of not reporting it, a silent legacy of living in shame, a silent legacy of living in fear. And people pass that on to generations and generations without understanding it. There's no conversation that happens. There's no healing that happens. Everybody just deals with it and move forward. You've come from 100 years lineage of systemic trauma, abuse, addiction, and different things. Now you're a mom and you fought so hard to protect yourself. And now you're working hard to protect your daughters in a way that they would never understand. Breaking the generational curse is not easy. Walk us through some of the things you went through to get to where you are right now.
Just like you said, Stephanie, it starts with your family. The only family we know is the family we have. My mom was a teen mom. She was a mom of a teen mom. My grandmother was a mom of a teen mom. My mom was a teen mom. My father was into his 30s, absent, and he's been an addict longer than I've been alive. The first time I met my dad was when he was on tour. I was 7 weeks old in front of this little divey venue in Norwalk, Connecticut at a sold out punk rock show that set the tone for the rest of my upbringing. My mom doing absolutely the best that she could. My father's intermittent presence in my life, if you even want to call it that, because of his addiction and because of his life on the road. Well, my mom, she did do the best that she could. Her model of behavior for motherhood was what she got from my grandmother, who, by the way, is my very best friend in the world. My grandmother and I have a very special bond. Think about it. My grandmother was 36 when I was born. Can you imagine
Oh,
being a
wow.
grandparent at 36? None of the women in my family had ever gone to college. My mom barely finished high school, and my
Right.
grandmother maybe took a semester of college classes. The stress of being a single parent, it does something to you and it
Yeah.
causes a lot of dysregulation, especially when you are exposed to or committed to abusive spouses. My mom, she only knew what she knew, which was larger than life, combative men, just like her father. I ended up having two more siblings from the same profile guy. Both of my younger half siblings, fathers had drug problems. You're just growing up in this scenario where you see your teen mom who is dysregulated at best. She never took to drugs, she never took to alcohol. But when you're living with somebody who's under that much stress and is so dysregulated, it is like living with an alcoholic because you never
Yes.
know what you're going to get that day.
Yes.
And so glad to say that she's such a healed individual now. But at the time, I didn't know if I was getting loving tenderness or abuse. I didn't know which one I was going to get. It's like playing Russian roulette. Every time you wake up in the morning, you just never know what you're going to get.
As a child, that has to be overwhelming to
Yeah.
not know which parent you're gonna get, to know that I only have one, I only have you. I love you, but I don't know how you're going to treat me today. I don't
Yeah.
know if you're gonna be kind, angry, frustrated. I don't know if this new relationship is gonna be what makes you happy. And then when that relationship doesn't work, now do I get the opposite end of who you are?
One of the potential hallmark symptoms of chronic trauma, chronic CPTSD, is hypervigilance. When you're in that sort of precarious, highly volatile environment from a young age, the hypervigilance starts young and you can never quite relax in the true sense of the word. You start developing maladaptive behaviors and coping skills right away, which is what I did. So
Yeah.
for me, I started right away following in my family's footsteps, becoming very precocious in my
Mhm.
teens and making a lot of bad decisions. Quite frankly, me as a teenager, I would tell my young daughter, don't hang out with that girl. That's not the person you want to be seen with. That's who I became because I wasn't getting that consistent love and attention and care at home. Thankfully, intermittently, anytime I got to
Right.
spend with my grandparents, I did, but it was so
Mhm.
inconsistent. I would get so much love from my grandparents whenever I spent time with them, but I still lived with my mom, and then she had my two younger siblings. When you don't get any kind of streamlined conventional love at home, you seek it out in inappropriate places, which is exactly what I started doing as a teen and doing bizarre things for attention, lying, attention seeking behaviors. It's easy to say I'm embarrassed about it today,
Right.
but also I'm not because I know where it was coming from. That's what led me to get pregnant for the first time at 17. Here we go, following in my family's footsteps.
It's not something you want to do.
Mm.
We don't realize the things we're willing to do for attention because we have a void we're trying to get filled in this moment, not understanding that it's unfillable. This is a void that is unfillable by a man. This is a void that is unfillable by drugs. It is one of those things we have to go inward
Yes,
to heal. It's
absolutely.
not something anything outside could heal us from.
And money is another big one too. When you grow up
Yes,
below the poverty line, like my family did, you think that money and buying
yes,
things sometimes is the solution too. Oh, I didn't have what I wanted growing up. So if I start buying the things I want now, you get that dopamine hit like from the retail therapy, but it doesn't actually help you.
the dopamine comes, then the bill comes. I'm more in poverty now because I have bills that I cannot handle because
Mhm.
I'm trying to fill voids. So many people that are listening to this podcast, so many people that we've experienced, we see them and we understand this person is on a quick road to
Mhm.
destruction because they're trying to fill voids in their life that they're not going to be able to fill in the way that they think they're going to be able to fill them.
Yeah.
You had a lot of family patterns that you definitely understood you had. I think they became prevalent when you were pregnant at 17. One of the things that we talked about briefly in our pre-interview is that you had a child at 17 that you gave up for adoption.
Yeah,
If you're okay talking about that, walk us through what made you make that life-changing
yeah.
decision.
I'm happy to share about it. I'm Italian American. In the area that I'm from, we use a lot of Italian slang. One thing that we
Mhm,
say is stunad. Basically, it means stupid. So, like, I was
mhm.
little stunad, ran around town thinking it won't happen to me. I won't
Right.
be pregnant. The scenario was that things were so bad at home that one of my high school teachers took me in on a
Mhm,
summer night. I explained to her what was going on. She called her boss at 8 o'clock at night after I
mhm,
told her I have some people I can stay with down in Florida. I had never been to Florida
mhm.
except to Disney when I
Right.
was little. I have some people down in Florida who are willing to take me in. I just need a plane ticket to get there. My high school teacher called her boss at 8 o'clock at night and said, "Hey, I have Christy Stoyak here." Her boss goes, "Is she all right?" And she says, "No, she's not okay. She has a safe place to go. Will I get in trouble or will I lose my job if I pay for her to go there?" He was like, "Do what you got to do. I don't know anything. Get her somewhere safe." I fly my happy ass down to Florida
Mhm,
thinking, oh man, I can do what I want. This is awesome. I'm not at home anymore. I'm out of this hectic, abusive household. I was living it up, hanging out with some
mhm,
cool people, met my boyfriend at the time. And you think, I'm not going to get pregnant. Yeah, I got pregnant. So here I am, thousands of miles from home, pregnant. I end up going with my tail between my legs back home, pregnant, to my mother's house, which was
mhm.
a state subsidized home. I had a twin size mattress on the floor, no high school diploma, no skills. I had nothing to
Yeah.
offer. I was sitting there on my twin mattress on the floor, about 15 weeks pregnant. I had just found out I was having a little girl. I was hugging my belly and I was rocking back and forth on the floor, just saying, I love you. I love you. Over and over again. I knew that was the tipping point for me. That's absolutely the moment that I knew I had to do better for her. It just so happened that I had been introduced to the idea of adoption, and it
Right.
was a couple who, traditional story, in their 30s, who couldn't have children of their own. It was
Right.
terrifying, but it felt right. I had to open myself up to it because I believe that the moment that you become a parent, you have to do the right thing. It's not
Mhm.
about you, it's not about your feelings, it's about them. It
Yeah.
had to be about her. I could not let the selfishness of wanting to raise my own daughter get in the way of doing what was absolutely the best thing for her. That's what I decided to do. I met that couple. There were too many parallels between mine and her mom's story. I felt very connected to them. And I said, this is what we're going to do. It wasn't just about giving her the best life possible. It was the wake up call to me that said, okay, Christy, this is where
Right.
you get to break the chain. And I said, okay, we're going to start right now. I was 18 by the time that I
Mhm.
delivered. And I set out to start working, start saving money, start figuring out what the heck I'm going to do with my life. Got my high school diploma on an online program and started joining the workforce, trying to be a productive member of society. Took a little help from my friends who helped teach me about what is the Pell Grant and what is FAFSA, and this idea that, like, do you know that you
Right.
can go to community college like at no cost to you? Starting to learn social skills that I didn't learn at a young age, how to be emotionally intelligent, how to get along with my peers, and how to apply myself, and how to really hold myself accountable and become disciplined in my pursuit of being something better. Because I just kept looking at my young life saying, oh God, how do I make that little girl proud? If I got really stuck, I would think about my first child, who thankfully is living a life, everything that you could ever want for a young lady. She's living it, she's doing it. And I think about her and I think about, how do I make her proud? That's where it all started.
Giving a child up for an adoption, a lot of people want to make that a negative thing, and it's not. Especially when you love them more than you love yourself, when you want to give them the things you're emotionally not capable, mentally not capable, financially not capable of giving them. I think that is one of the most selfless things a mom could do. I commend you. That has been the motivation that has allowed you to live, to change your life.
Yeah.
2 lives were saved with her life.
Yeah.
Your life was saved, and then her life was saved. It's good to know that you know where she is, that she's living a beautiful life and she is well. I think that's something that gives your soul a level of peace. To be reaffirmed you did make the right decision. Do you guys have contact, or you just know through pictures and video?
I have a way of being able to keep an eye on what she's up to. My motivation for her was, I just want her to have the most beautiful, typical young lady teen life possible. When she turns 18, at any point, if she wants to reach out, I'm here with open arms. But if she
Right.
doesn't make that choice, and I know I have friends who are adopted and have elected into,
Mhm.
what, my adopted parents gave me everything I need. I love my life. I don't, I'm choosing not to meet my biological parents. That's okay. That's her
Yes.
choice. It's her life.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's all right. Either
Yeah,
way
and
is fine.
that's healing, that you are at that place where you loved her enough to want her to have a better life. I pray that she has the same amount of peace that you have.
I do too.
I think that's important. That decision definitely shaped your life, shaped your resilience. It gave you something to live for. You found out muscular dystrophy.
Yes.
Tell us what that is. How did you find out? How did
So bizarre.
right.
So in my family, autoimmune disorders run pretty prevalent. My mom has type 1 diabetes, and she was diagnosed very shortly after I was born. And on my father's side, I'm aware that many of my aunts have lupus. When I was a teenager, I started to have muscle aches and pains and my joints filling with fluid and stuff like that. Anytime I did go to the doctor, it was more so written off as idiopathic rheumatism, autoimmune diseases run in your family, healthy lifestyle, anti inflammatory behaviors, and lifestyle choices that will help you the best. Fast forward to when I was 23, I had my daughter, who I have now.
Yes.
She's terrific. When she was little, less than a year old, she wasn't meeting any of her gross motor milestones. She wasn't
Okay.
crawling, she wasn't sitting up on her own. And at her 1 year annual physical, I remember her father and I had her in the exam room with the pediatrician, and we expressed our concerns just at a cursory level before she was examined. And of course, the pediatrician took that sort of, every parent's always concerned and comparing their kids to other kids. You need to let her do her thing. We took a step back and we
Mhm.
watched our daughter, and we watched the look on our pediatrician's face as she saw for herself that she was nowhere near where she
Mm,
needed to be. That started the referral to the first specialist. And then that specialist referred us to another specialist. And then that specialist started recommending other follow ups with other niche specialists. Long story short, after 6 months of genetic testing and another 18 months of just collaborative differential diagnosis with a whole
Right.
team of clinicians and specialists at Yale, it turns out that I and my daughter have a form of muscular dystrophy. It's very benign. It's
Mm.
called Bethlehem myopathy.
Right.
It's under the muscular dystrophy umbrella, but what it actually is a mutation of the collagen that makes up your joints. At the
Okay.
cellular level, it's a mutation in the extracellular matrix of the collagen type 6 cells. And so it presents either during infancy or during your teens. Sounds
Okay.
familiar, doesn't it?
Yes.
In my case, it presented when I was in my teens with the what I can only describe as like glass being like filtered through your joints. It's like growing pains on steroids. And I was often told that it was all in my head and I was just saying these things for attention. For my daughter, it presented as her joints basically being floppy. We're both super flexible, and I thought it was just a bodily trait, but her joints were just so flexible and so weak that they couldn't support her muscles.
Okay, gotcha.
I had to do 4 years of PT every single week with my daughter. It started off as 3 days a week, an hour PT sessions. Thankfully, as she got stronger and as her gross motor abilities increased, we were able to taper off. But the consensus was both you ladies need to become as strong as possible, or you can't do anything for it. It's
Right.
genetic. So the recommendation was strength train and be as strong as you possibly can because it's me and I seem to thrive on intensity. I said, okay, cool. What is the hardest, most hardcore thing I could do to get strong quickly? And that was powerlifting. So I said, okay,
Right.
cool. Let's start powerlifting.
Let's rush the process. But along with
Yes,
powerlifting, you actually do jujitsu.
I do now. By the time my daughter and I were both diagnosed, I was 26 years old. I got into powerlifting first, and it was a ton of fun. It's a super cool community. You get a little bored after a while because the whole
Right.
premise of powerlifting as a sport is like three main lifts it's squatting, deadlifting, and benching. Unless you're somebody who really wants to take powerlifting far in terms of competing, for me, it got a little bit boring because we're increasing the amount of heavy weight that we're lifting, but I didn't have a training partner. I'm a little
Right.
bit bored. Let's do something different. It was during the pandemic. So I was 31. This would have been 2021. A friend of mine recommended that I check out their friend's jujitsu gym. I had no
Mhm.
idea it was jujitsu. And
Right.
I jokingly say, I walked into the gym for the first time with my eyes wide shut because
Right.
I had this curious mindset and I just showed up. I was like, I don't know what this is, but we're going to give it a try. I remember I showed up and immediately you get UFC vibes. I thrive on intensity. I'm like, this is awesome. What do I do next? And the next thing I know, I'm being
Right.
given this pajama looking get up here, put on this gi. Gi would like clarified butter. No, this is a gi. This is what you wear when you do jujitsu. I was like, okay. Next thing I know, I'm falling in love with the sport, and I certainly don't train as much as other people do. I'm certainly not as quick at picking up the
Right.
concepts as other people are. People who tends to grow up doing team sports or contact sports, my opinion is that they tend to do a little bit better, like wrestling, something like that. I didn't do any of that. And I didn't do teams. If I wanted to do a team sport when I was in school, my mom would have been like, I can't drive you. So no, like I'm
Yeah.
working. Of course you can't do a team sport. Like, how do you expect to get there? So I never
Yeah.
did
Because
anything
you're not
like
going to
that.
drive yourself.
Jiu-jitsu was my first glimpse into a contact sport, certainly my first exposure to combat martial arts. Fast forward, I've been doing it for over 4 years now and am so
Okay.
grateful to be part of such this incredible community. About halfway through my jiu-jitsu journey is when I had this aha moment where I happened to find this book that a lot of people in the trauma world know, The Body Keeps
Mhm.
the Score.
Yep.
I started to learn these concepts of how working with your body, whether that's sport or some other activity, it can
Mhm.
help to release stored trauma, and it can help to release a lot of these suppressed emotions. I
Mhm.
remember one day I was having a really bad day, and in my specific academy where I train, 90% of the time I'm the only female. I remember one day I was in such just this, I don't even know what kind of mood I was in. I was just like, I don't know, like depressed, but activated. I just started crying
Right.
in the middle of my training. I'm like, why am I crying? This is stupid. And the word, all these guys are like, why is Christy
Yeah.
crying? Come, why is the girl crying? Who said
Right, right,
something to
right.
upset her? It wasn't anything like
Exactly.
that. That was one of the aha moments for me where I said, there's something to this.
Yeah.
I'll never not train jujitsu, even if it's
Okay.
only 2 days a week, even though it's intense as hell. It has been one of the formative parts of who I am now. Bringing the thought back full circle, I look at this muscular dystrophy diagnosis and I'm like, what muscular dystrophy?
You took the necessary steps that you needed to not only do it for yourself, your daughter became a motivation behind you finding something that could strengthen both of you guys. You being strong allows you to be strong for her. You talk about how transmitting anger and shame into compassion and vulnerability, it has been huge for you. Your mind heals a lot of things that your body continues to hold on to. I tell my clients, get into trauma yoga, get into sound healing, get into things where you're moving your body so that the pain can flow through you. The pain can flow through you and out of you. A lot of that comes with the mindset. That is where you take anger and shame and you make it mean something else.
One thing that I have not spoken on to this point is in my late teens, early 20s, I developed a yoga practice and I also fell in love with Middle Eastern dance. So
Mhm.
much so that before I got pregnant with my 12-year-old, I was dead set on becoming a pro Middle Eastern dancer and also getting my yoga teacher training. When I
Okay.
became pregnant with my now 12-year-old, the
Mhm.
plan had to change, and
Right.
that's okay. But even still, I yoga and dance both remained such a big part of my life, even though I'm not able to commit to them in the way that I used to.
Too right.
And I feel like yoga and dance for me scratch the surface of how do we connect with our body and how do we connect with our suppressed emotions. Because as I affectionately say, there are days where I white knuckle the shit out of life because anger
Right.
is a big thing for me. Anger, resentment, and shame is a huge thing for me because there wasn't a lot of softness, there wasn't a lot of tenderness in my young years. All I really knew was just tough love. Having a yoga and a dance practice really helped me to feel some modicum of softness and intimacy, especially with dance. In addition to Middle
Right.
Eastern dance, I took up blues and fusion dance, which is a
Mhm.
partner dance. I remember thinking for the first time, wow, this is what intimacy feels like outside
Mm.
of the bedroom. You're in
Right.
a room with all these strangers. A lot of these people maybe you've never met before. You walk across somebody from the room and you say, "Hey, do you want to dance this song?" And you're touching that person, you're engaging in the dance together. You don't know them from Adam, but you're
Right.
co-regulating and you're
Mhm.
reading each other. And it's like this expression of full intimacy
Yes.
without any sexuality tied
Yes.
to it. That for me helped me to figure out I can invite softness in on my own. And then the cool thing about jujitsu in particular, no, that's obviously very intense, right? You're going
Right.
from something like dance or yoga to jujitsu, which is full contact with another human
Mhm.
being. The really awesome thing about the jujitsu community is that, yes, effectively, the whole point of jujitsu is to submit somebody and make them tap out so that you can train for a real life self defense situation. You literally are being taught how to submit people and harm them
Right.
physically. But
Yes.
when you're on the mats with the people that you train with, you're taking care of each other. So
Right.
you're
Right.
transmuting all this intensity, this anger, frustration. Maybe you had a bad day at work, a fight with your spouse, and you're bringing that onto the mats. It's
Right.
this space where you're able to share the anger and frustration and whatever else you're bringing to the table. You're letting it come out, but you're also taking care of your training partner because they're your training partner and that's your community. They're there to take care of you too. You learn through jujitsu and through mindfulness, checking in with yourself, that even though I feel really bad right now, or even though I am seeing red right now, all it takes is just to find an opportunity to connect with somebody, to take care of somebody, and to just break bread with them and share this space. Beautiful things happen when you connect with other people. And I find that on the days where I am angriest, where my nervous system has left the building in the
Right.
sense that I have no control over it because I'm so upregulated, all it takes is for me to just check in with a friend or check
Hmm.
in with one of my training partners and connect and be like, "Hey, how you doing? It's really good to
Yeah.
see you. How was your weekend? How are your kids? How's your wife?" Whatever it is. And then
Hmm.
all of a sudden, you relax.
Yeah.
You take the skills that you learn through physical activity into real life. And all of a sudden, you're not angry anymore because you're actually connecting with your community and you're co regulating. That
Right.
for me has been the most effective way to transmute all these feelings of shame, frustration, and anger, such that I'm not a prisoner to them anymore.
Life is not meant to be lived alone. I do think there's times where we should isolate and get ourselves together, but overall, life is not meant to be lived alone.
No.
We are supposed to be in community, and to go from a place where it's outrageous, you're angry, you're frustrated, to and you have this level of intensity, but I still have to make sure that I don't hurt this person because my anger
Mhm.
is not geared towards this person. Teaches you another level of discipline where you want to go full throttle. You understand that this person doesn't deserve that. I think it definitely helps with emotional regulation because a lot of people wouldn't see it like that. I have someone who was a significant part of my life. You could tell that if they didn't go to the gym, they were going to lose it. They had to go to the gym. They wouldn't take it out on you, but this antsiness, this frustration for them in particular, that makes the world a better place. I don't think that we know to move our bodies. We're not taught, just move your body, go for a run, a walk, take off your shoes and feel the earth on your feet. It makes such a significant difference. It's beautiful to hear you explain it in the way that you have. One of
Thank
the
you.
things that intrigued me about you is the fact that you have defied so many different things in life. Now you have a desire to write about it. You have a desire to not only heal yourself, to heal people who don't even know they may need it. Your book is going to
100%.
be an amazing resource for people you want to write about living in defiance.
The one thing that I stick by is a lot of people who need the most help, they don't even know they need it. I was slated to become a product of my environment, right? The only environment I knew was living below the poverty line, not having a college education, or really doing much of anything with my life except getting pregnant and working a
Mhm.
dead end job. If I hadn't snapped out of it and hadn't had people force themselves on me literally and say, whether I wanted to hear it or not, stop it. You're full of shit
Right.
if you think that's where the road ends.
Right.
I need you to listen to me. Not
Mhm.
everyone's going to have that intervention. Most are not going to have that intervention. That was God's work that I had
Right.
a few people step in and put me in my place. You're full of shit if you think that's all you're made for. My book that I'm currently writing and I'm hoping to have published very soon is called
Right.
Living in Defiance. I want it to be an easily accessible resource that tells a little bit of my own story, but
Mhm.
offers up science based, approachable strategies and tactics to help the people who need it the most to understand they don't have to be a product of their
Right.
environment. They can utilize the four pillars of discipline, accountability, compassion and connection
Mhm.
towards living a meaningful life of purpose that
Right.
they want to choose, that they actually get to be in charge of. The one tough thing about growing up in poverty and being the next link in a chain of teen moms is there's really not a whole heck of a lot of people telling you, hey, don't you know that you can actually do something different? Do that. Nobody's telling you that. And and that's how generational trauma gets perpetuated is
Yep.
there's really not a lot of readily available resources people in these circumstances can identify with
Yeah.
that can also show them, hey, you can actually defy this. You can actually break this chain. And so I'm hoping that through connection with my community, through being able to hopefully connect with my story, maybe other young people will be able to see themselves in my story, being able to relate to that and have that same aha moment that I did, which is,
Right.
oh, you mean I can actually do something different? But not just giving them that aha moment, give them
Right.
very practical strategies and tactics for doing so. I talk a lot about how to take accountability for your actions, your self care, your routine, and mapping out your own future, but also being able to take accountability for your actions so far and how to make peace with those actions if they're not necessarily aligned with who you are now. I speak a lot on being disciplined, having the discipline to be uncomfortable in knowing that it's not going to be perfect and showing up anyway for
Right.
yourself, for your future. And I also speak a lot on the importance of practicing compassion, not just for others, but for yourself. And also how necessary it is to be connected to something. We know that humans have three intrinsic needs, and that is to feel competent, self actualized, and connected. And I think
Mhm.
that compassion and connection are two integral elements that help us to experience those needs in a very meaningful way. I'm really motivated to give readers a solid blueprint that shows them these are actual tools that you can implement starting today. There's no investment. This is not me
Right.
selling a coaching program. This is not me selling anything. This is me saying, here's a first look into how you can start changing your life. Take these lessons, these strategies and tactics, start to do your own work, research and read beyond my book, but do it in a way that's purposeful and meaningful for you so that you can defy your own circumstances too, because you're capable of doing it. You just need someone to give you that little push. And I hope that my book can be that little push for a lot of people.
People need people. There's no words wasted. That's what my book coach, Lovia Jaya Jones, says. There's no words wasted. So the words that you're speaking in this book, as you're writing it now, I'm sure that it's therapeutic. As you're going through the process, it's therapeutic, but it is going to be what someone needs when they need it the most. And that is one of the things that I'll congratulate you on even before the book is finished. Do you want to make money? Yeah, absolutely. People do want to make money when they write books or when they publish things, but at the same time, your desire to see people defy the odds and know that if I did it and I'm just a girl from Connecticut that had a hard life and now I have a life where I thrive, you can do the same. And it's not as difficult as people have made it out to be. One of the main pushes for this podcast is, will there be people that I interview that are famous? Absolutely. But this podcast for me was for extraordinary everyday people to get their message and their word out so that everyday people that don't have access to a lot of money, that don't have access to a lot of resources, that they
Mhm.
can get on here, hear a story, and realize I have what it takes because these are just simple things that I can do today to move my life forward. And these are different call to actions that I can do right now that'll
Mhm.
impact my life. I want you to tell me two things. One thing that you're grateful for, and one thing that a person listening to this podcast can do right now that'll change their life.
One thing I'm grateful for, I know it sounds like a line. I'm
Mhm.
grateful for being able to do with my life whatever I want. There are endless possibilities in what you get to be and what you get to push yourself to do. Life's about choices. You can make one choice today that will change the rest of your life, and you get to make that choice. I'm grateful for this life where I get to make those choices. Then, one thing, if I could tell listeners one thing, it's look for the opportunities because they are there. Think critically about everything, question everything, look for the different avenues to do something differently if that's what you wish. Always look for those opportunities and you will find them.
That's a good one because we don't know what to look for a lot of times. I think being critical and asking questions and understanding that it doesn't come immediately, that there's some things that take time that is powerful. It starts with looking for the opportunities. If you don't know to ask questions, then you don't know what the answers could be.
A lot of people who are stuck in these cyclic situations, they do exactly that. They say, I don't know what I need, but I know it's not this. So it's
Right,
okay. That's absolutely
right.
fine. And there are so many people in that same situation. Start thinking critically about everything and expand on your conventional thought process. Look for different opportunities. They might not align with what you believe is the right thing to do in that moment, but it might actually be. It could.
Be the
So
right
just
thing.
always stay vigilant on looking for what you can do differently. There's always an opportunity to do something different, and you could find your way.
Definitely. Christy, it has been my pleasure to have this healing conversation with you today. You have defied a lot of odds. And if no one has told you, I will tell you in this moment that I am extremely proud of you. I'm extremely proud that even the times you didn't think was worth living, that God had other plans for you because we would not have gotten the story we got today had your life been different. I'm grateful for the things that you've been through. I'm also grateful for the fact that you've overcome and you want to be able to see other people overcome in the same manner. It was a privilege and an honor to interview you. I am going to pray us out. I believe God is going to do amazing things through this interview. Heavenly gracious Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come into your presence. God, we thank you for the words that were spoken. We ask and pray right now, God, that these words pierce someone's heart and their mind, soul, and their spirit. God, we ask and pray that these words be the words that changes someone's life. God, that helps them look for opportunities to seek change, to be different. God, and above all, we ask and pray that as shame and anger is transformed to vulnerability and compassion, God, Heavenly Father, that you would walk with the person that needs you to walk with them, that you would make them feel that they're not alone, God, in this transformation. God, we thank you for the breaking of generational curses. We thank you for the acknowledgement that they even exist. So, God, as we close this podcast, God, we ask and pray that you continue to increase in us, God, not only in what we say, but what we do, God, and how we carry ourselves. And we thank you for it now in your darling son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.